What's up, guys? I, this morning, am driving in circles. That's what I'm doing on this Monday morning. I decided I'm going to screw my Monday up by not doing a follow up with my dispatcher. So, last Friday, which was 3 days ago, I took a load, and they didn't send me the bill of lading, but they sent me some stuff, and then they sent me a second bill of lading for my second load, but they didn't send the bill of lading for the first. And when I took the load, I could have swore the woman said Independence, Kansas. All right. So this morning I thought, hey, I'm going to swing by their office, get the bill of lading and my other stuff, and then I'll just roll on to Independence, Kansas. But in the meantime, I went ahead and called ahead, and I said, hey, I'm swinging by to get the stuff and do the thing. She's like, well, you're supposed to pick up in North Little Rock. And I'm like, well, I'm like 10 minutes away from where you are to get the stuff I need. And she's like, oh, no. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So that's not good. So she was freaking out, and she's filling in for my normal dispatcher. She's a new dispatcher, and this is how I handled the situation. I said, don't worry about it. I said, it's not a big deal. I drive for a living. So what that means for me is I'll just drive a little bit more. I said, don't worry about it. It's not a big thing. She's like, oh man, I'm sorry, sorry, sorry. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It'll be fine. She was freaked out. I wasn't. I roll with it, man. There's times I get freaked out, but this wasn't the time. I take and roll with it. So I'm on my way back home. I'm going to take and organize my tow vehicle, get my oil changed, get some stuff done that I needed to do that I didn't get done because I worked real hard over the weekend. We have a giant garden, and I picked, I think it was about 100 and something pounds of one kind of tomato, and I think about 75 pounds of another kind of tomato. So, needless to say, man, I don't even want a slice of tomato on a burger or nothing. I'm so burnt out on looking at tomatoes, and I'm so sore from picking them because I used mussels, I don't use every day. Oh my gosh, it's going to be like a vacation just going back to work. So I got that. Then at my house, we got a dang water leak, and it's ruined the entire floor in my laundry room and bathroom. We got to rip out the bathroom and laundry room. So this week is an important week for me. I need to get out there and really make some damn money this week because I got numerous repairs I got to accomplish. So if you ever want a really good cell phone holder to shoot video, uh, I'll tell you a little trick. Just take your cell phone and get some painter's tape, tape it to the rearview mirror. This is your view right now on my rearview mirror. But anyway, I wanted to talk about a certain thing. I had a few questions on a couple of things, one of which was tow dollies. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to break it down about the tow dollies and my experience with the tow dollies. So, number one, I have found that the Demco tow dolly is the best tow dolly you can get. And here's the reasons. On the axle on the trailer goes to a hub assembly. You got 4 bolts on that hub assembly, and you could take and remove that whole hub assembly and bolt it back on and have that hub assembly back on there within Man, I don't know, less than 15 minutes. And put your wheel back on there, you're up and going again if your wheel bearing goes out. Other tow dollies, you got to take and literally take the wheel off, all the bearings out, the race, the nut, the Carter key, all that stuff. You got to do all that stuff, and then you still may have damage done to the axle itself. You could have wore a groove in there, and then all your work is for naught. So that's why I like the Demco tow dolly. And on the Demco tow dolly, this is what I used to do. The handles to ratchet the straps down, I took that shit and threw it away. And I'll tell you why. This is what they do. They have these longer handles, and those ratcheting handles, as you're going down the road, they loosen up as they age. Okay, so like the more you use it, if you're using it every day, like I use a tow bar, that stuff's going to wear out. It's going to start loosening up. So what I did, there's a blue and white tow dolly. I'm not going to say the name because they go by different names. I know there's 2 or 3 different companies. They make the same thing, but they just stick a different sticker on there. You've seen them on the highway. They're Tow Master, just a bunch of different names. So you find a supplier in which you could get that ratcheting thing that you put your strap through. You get that ratcheting thing, and it has 2 holes on it in which you could take and bolt it to whatever. Okay, so what I used to do was I would go to a welding shop and I would get a flat piece of metal, and it would fit right in the groove of the Demco tow dolly. Okay, then I have a welder. I have a Lincoln 110 welder, a wire-fed welder, and it's gasless. But anyway, I took and ran a couple of beads on there and welded that to a flat plate of steel, slipped it in the groove of the Demco tow dolly, and there's a nut which is a keeper that keeps that ratcheting piece from sliding off and just falling off onto the highway as you're going down the road. I would pull that nut and bolt out of there, slide that in that groove, put that nut and bolt back, and I was off to the races. And what I'd do is I'd have a breakover bar which was about 3 feet long with the perfect size socket to go over that socket-shaped ratcheting part, and then I would ratchet that strap down until basically I'm starting to mash the tire a little bit, okay? And I never had any problems with that baby coming loose. And to loosen it, obviously what you do is you get your breakover bar back out, you pull it down like you're tightening it, and then you take and flip the switch to loosen it, and then after a few clicks the opposite way, it'll loosen up enough to where you can pull that strap out of there and get your car off there. After a few times, you'll be a master at that. And another thing I had issues with tow dollies is fenders. The tow dollies, when you're towing it, unload it down the road, those babies, they bounce all over the freaking place. And the fenders start getting metal fatigue if they're metal. And then from blowouts, once one of those tires blow out, it just blows that fender, just explodes all over the pavement. And all that's left is a bracket that held that plastic fender up, and then you got that. That's all that's left. So I just pretty much gave up on the fenders, and I never really had problems with DOT with no fenders. So, because I always had the lights on top of my tow vehicle on the trunk, and then at one time I ran the lights up on the back dash, where the 6x9 speakers go towards the back seat. I had the lights right there. I had them basically wedged between the window and the back dash. And so that's how I did the lights, and that's how I dealt with the fenders. And the most important thing about a tow dolly is always carry a spare tire, because you never know. You could have a wonderful brand new tire, and then by 5 o'clock that day, guess what? It's shot because you hit some shit in the middle of the road and you got a slow leak. Didn't see a slow leak. Now you've shredded your tire. It's ruined. And I have found that in some Walmarts, not all of them, you could go into Walmart, walk in there with the correct bolt pattern, like take a piece of paper and a pencil and get your bolt pattern and just kind of like, color it onto a piece of paper. Now you got your bolt pattern. Walk into Walmart, match the bolt pattern up to the wheel, and then take and that's the correct wheel. But Walmart will let you return a wheel and tire, if you get the wrong one, and as long as you didn't use it. And they're cool with that as long as you got your receipt, and you can exchange it for the right one or just go to a different Walmart. But I've had to buy a wheel and tire at a Walmart in the middle of the night before, because I had a blowout on my tow dolly. Then I stuck my spare on there, and guess what? The other tire had issues. Had to go get a secondary spare. Oh, it sucked, but that's how it goes. Sometimes you win some, you lose some. Then another thing about the tow dolly is, if you ever seen a tow dolly doing that right to left crap going down the road, I'll tell you how to fix it. All right, I had a guy, mine was swinging back and forth like a snake tail going down the highway. I was towing it with a Ford Taurus, and this real super awesome Mexican guy pulls up next to me, and he had a tow dolly. He said, "I could tell you how to fix that," is what he yells at me. And he points over at the gas station. So I'm like, I'm desperate, man. I'm pulling on over, and this guy's going to show me today. So we roll on over there. He said, all you have to do to fix that is replace these 2 bolts. Okay, now envision the tow dolly. Okay, you got your the center of your tow dolly is the tongue. Okay, that goes up to your trailer ball. Then you got these 2 arms that come off there, and it resembles like an A shape. Okay, you got a right arm and a left arm. It goes back to the center plate of the tow dolly. Okay, what you do is you check all 4 of those bolts that connects that. So what I did, I took and yanked out all those bolts, threw that shit away. Then I went to Tractor Supply and had bolts, hardened steel bolts, because I'm the biggest fan of the hardened steel bolts. And then I got lock washers, and then big fat gnarly washers, and I bolted it all back together, and I never had that right to left crap anymore after that. And if it wasn't for that guy down in Texas stopping me and saying, "Hey man, I got the answer," I don't know if I would have ever figured it out. I was brain dead back then. I was a new guy. I didn't know any better. And so then another thing about tow dollies is the clasp. I don't know what you'd call it. The clasp that goes over the ball. Okay, so up underneath there, if you're having issues with it being loose on your ball, up underneath there's a nut. And I can't remember the correct size. I want to say it's a 3/4, but I could be wrong. Don't hold me to it. But anyway, up underneath there's a nut, and you could tighten that nut up to where it clamps the ball tighter. And that goes for some of these tow bars too. You could tighten that nut up, and it'll clamp that ball a little tighter. So I hope that helps you. And what was the other thing I was going to say? These Honda CRVs. Let me tell you something about them. Okay, so on the Honda CRV, I'm using a 2005. I'm driving it right now. All right, so when you're towing one of these Honda CRVs, I use the automatic because, it was the one I came up with originally. Now I love them, so I'm going to keep on with the Honda CRVs. So I'm going to keep using the automatics. So anyway, with the automatic, what you do is to to get it in tow. I don't know, probably 40 people ask me this question. Okay, so to tow the Honda CRV, this is what you do. You take and put it in. You start the vehicle. All right, you put it in neutral, reverse, drive, second, first, second, drive, pass neutral, hit reverse, back down to neutral. Now it stays in neutral. And you want to go through all those gears slowly to where it lubes the internals of your transmission. And I typically stop every 300 miles. I let it run for I don't know, 10, 15 minutes because I'm in the bathroom taking a leak. And so it takes me about 10, 15 minutes because I'm getting old, man. And so anyway, I run back. I turn the car off, and that was before I ran it through all the gears again, da 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 da. And so another thing with the Honda CRV is the battery. So the battery gets drained during tow. So you have a little light on the stereo. It stays on all the time. Can't get it off. Then you got a light on the dash that says neutral. Those two lights right there eventually will drain your battery. And so what I do is I have choices. Okay, one, I could just roll with it. Just roll on. And then just hope that my battery's not going to be dead when I get to my destination because I carry a jump pack and I just jump it off. But, that ain't good for the alternator. So, also, I have two wires ran into my wire harness for my lights. And what I do, I run the lights on the truck that I'm towing the Honda with. And then I take and I have those all ran back to the battery, the positive and negative, and it keeps the battery charged. Or I think it's a 10 millimeter, and I pull the negative off of the terminal of my Honda, and then that kills all the power in there. And that's after that baby is in neutral, because with no power in the Honda CRV, you cannot take the vehicle out of neutral or even shift gears. There's an electronic lock mechanism in the shifter handle somewhere up in the dash. And what it does is, with no power, it just holds it in neutral. Or it holds it in park. So, it holds them, either or. So, that's how that works. But I hope I helped out somebody. And, if you got any questions and you think I might have the answers, feel free to hit me up at my email, and I'll list it below. And be sure, man, and get out there and wear those masks, because that's going to stop this pandemic. That was sarcasm, because I don't believe that. But we're not going to jump down that rabbit hole at the end of the video here. So you guys get out there and make some damn money.